Billionaire mocked black waitress in Arabic. Seconds later, she answered back fluently. A lowly creature like her dares touch my crystal glass. Omar Al-Farid sneered in Arabic, making the dinner table erupt in laughter. Certain, the American waitress understood nothing. Sarah Collins bowed her head, her hand trembling as she set down the wine. But seconds later, she lifted her gaze and replied in flawless Arabic, "The crystal glass does not lower the one who holds it. It only reflects the dignity of the one who drinks from it." The 6-star hotel hall in Dubai blazed with light, chandeliers like waterfalls of crystal, marble floors so polished they mirrored the hems of gowns. Bordeaux mingled with sandalwood. Strings whispered faintly like a trembling thread in the air. In the middle of it all, Sarah Collins, 25, hair neatly pinned, a faint scar above her left brow, stood in her black apron, shoes worn down, silver tray heavy in her hands. She was covering a shift. A colleague had suddenly called out. In her apron pocket, her phone buzzed with a message. Insurance denied Mom's treatment again. Short, sharp, and heavy as a stone in her stomach. At the entrance, a security guard scanned her badge a beat too long. His slow nod reeked of gatekeeping. Passing a fur-draped lady, Sarah saw her clutch pulled closer, microaggressions soft as shadows. At a nearby table, a man muttered, "They're really pushing diversity tonight." A woman giggled, "Don't be sensitive, it's a joke." Words, oiled smooth, slid off, but left a greasy trace in the air. The spotlight was Table 1. At its head sat Graham Ford, energy billionaire, his smile flashing like sharpened metal. Beside him, his daughter Isla Ford, 22, studying international relations, her gaze more observant than arrogant. Around them, Senator Daniel Brooks, bow tie creased, laugh soaked in whiskey, Nick Harper, the slick-haired media mogul, Clara Price, the pearl-strung socialite, Ambassador Lydia Grant with a glittering diplomatic pin, and Dr. Thomas Hale, the gray-templed Middle East scholar. In the background, Sarah's co-worker Maya Lee slipped past with a tray of bread rolls. The whispers carried class and race in their undertones. Uniforms here are slipping. Those shoes look thrift store. Does she even speak proper English? Oddly enough, directed at an American. Sarah inhaled, held, exhaled. Her mentor, Professor Yusuf Al-Hassan, had taught her. Words are power. Breathe before you use them. She set a glass before Brooks. The wine rippled but did not spill. Clara's thin smile cut across. "So humble," Nick added. "If the hotel's diversity quota covers her, it should at least cover new shoes." Then Graham leaned in. Voice sliding Arabic, smooth as silk, but barbed as thorns, a lowly creature daring to touch crystal. Laughter cracked like fireworks. Sarah placed the glass down, straightened, and answered calmly in Arabic. "The crystal glass does not lower the one who holds it. It only reflects the dignity of the one who drinks from it." Silence froze. A fork chimed against porcelain like a bell. Ambassador Grant whispered, "She understands Arabic." Isla, who had never laughed, loosened her grip on the napkin, her eyes glinting. A crack had just run through the wall of prejudice. The instinct of the powerful was to shrink the triumph of the weak. Tourist phrases, Graham waved it off in English. Clara sweetened. Parrot mimicry. Senator Brooks grunted, "Don't be too impressed." Tone policing returned, masked as expert critique. "If she's that good, prove it." A woman in a yellow gown, Evelyn Ward, tapped her fork. "Ting, ting, let's have some fun. Say something impressive, or are you just a one-trick pony?" Laughter crept back, cautious as animals testing a trap. Sarah didn't reply at once. She set her tray on the side table, straightened the cloth, glanced at Isla. A signal. I know what you want. I'll answer when I choose. At the side, Maya Lee paused mid-step, eyes asking silently. The same guard shifted his stance toward table 1, as though Sarah's calmness was the first tremor of a storm. The earlier microaggressions, the pulled clutch, the shoe sneer, the diversity jab, now glowed like stains under UV light. Sarah remembered the message in her pocket. Her mother, the woman who had juggled 3 jobs to carry her through school, had just been denied again. Pain didn't make her loud, it stiffened her spine. She decided she would use words, measured, deliberate. All right, Sarah said softly, but the entire table heard. If you want to listen, then I'll let the words speak. No one expected such a thin thread of sound to flip a switch. Ambassador Grant put her pen down. Dr. Hale leaned forward. Isla held her breath. The room's gravity shifted. From this moment, they could no longer mock as before. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, hand resting on the silver tray's edge like a conductor lifting a baton. When she opened them, Act 2 had begun, and those who demanded she prove it were about to regret starting a game where the rules no longer belonged to them. Sarah began speaking in Arabic, not loudly, but with a cadence that struck directly at the human instinct to listen. She recited Al-Mutanabi. Each verse flowed like water over stone, gentle yet eroding. The consonants curved from the palate, the long vowels stretched with precision, the pauses fell exactly where they belonged. This wasn't memorization, it was lived experience. The air in the room smoothed over. The clink of a spoon against a soup bowl at a far table suddenly sounded like a boulder falling. Dr. Thomas Hale, a man who had spent his life studying Arabic, nearly dropped his fork. Extraordinary, he said first, then lowered his voice as if explaining to himself, the cadence, the imagery, the classical intonation. This is someone who has lived inside the language. Several heads turned toward him, seeking confirmation, and that lifeline made the skeptics shift uneasily. Isla looked from her father back to Sarah. In the 22-year-old's eyes was relief. Someone had just restored the compass in a room gone astray. Graham let out a thin smile, sharp as a blade. Poetry is easy. Eloquence doesn't equal understanding. He tilted his head at Nick Harper. Nick nodded and switched to Arabic, firing a dense, labyrinthine question. Shipping lanes through the strait, new tariffs between 3 trade blocks, last quarter's futures spreads, and a string of figures like a maze. It was the power class's familiar trap, turning language into a snare, hoping the other would stumble over a technicality. This will trip her up, muttered Senator Daniel Brooks, himself waiting to see how the spectacle ended. Clara Price sipped her wine, lips curling half an inch, the smile of someone who had wagered on a fall. Sarah listened without interrupting. She tilted her head slightly, the look of someone sketching a map in her mind. Then she replied, still in Arabic, first, breaking the problem into 3 routes: the Gulf to Red Sea, the Mediterranean via transshipment ports, and the South Asia detour under rising risk. Next, setting the variables: insurance windows, demand elasticity under price shocks, second-order effects on downstream logistics. Finally, she closed with numbers: the last quarter's volatility band, the basis between 2 exchanges, and why a seemingly safe tariff proposal actually heightened systemic sensitivity to transport shocks through forced rerouting. She wasn't spinning words, she was stacking blocks. Each idea laid square, and when she finished, the wall stood firm. Ambassador Grant released a low, her face shifting from curiosity to respect. Dr. Hale nodded along with each section, eyes alight like a professor encountering a rare, brilliant exam. Isla exhaled, a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. And most surprising, Senator Brooks began clapping first, slow, deliberate, then quickening. "That's not just fluency," he said, his voice sobered from drink. "That's expertise." Applause spread, though resistance lingered in mutters. "Still, she's just the help." The words rang like a last defense mechanism of the old order, clinging to labels when all other measures had failed. Tone policing returned in new clothes. "Mind your role. Don't forget your place." Nick checked his watch, feigning disinterest. Clara set down her glass in the manner of someone declaring she'd seen enough. Sarah didn't argue. She let the silence stretch just long enough for "she's still the help" to echo in its own emptiness. Then she spoke, still in Arabic, low and steady. "Yes, I am a server, and I'm also a student of Professor Yusuf Al-Hassan, linguistic advisor to the government." The room stirred. Brooks stumbled to his feet. "I know him, and he only takes the best." A milestone of authority had just been planted on the marble floor. Recognition from above had called Sarah by name. The microaggressions of the night, the pulled clutch, the shoe sneer, the "just joking," the "does she speak proper English," suddenly shrank. Not because they hadn't hurt, but because against a sequence of truths set neatly in order: fluency, poetry, finance, academic authority. They revealed themselves as plastic toys in adult hands. Ambassador Grant tilted her head slightly, a tacit acknowledgement that the order had shifted. The guide now was not the 7-figure menu but the black woman standing by the white tablecloth. Graham Ford closed his mouth, the smile vanishing as if someone had pulled a plug. He was used to laying out battlefields with language, but tonight, language was not on his side. Isla glanced at her father, then back at Sarah, her gaze carrying a gratitude hard to name, as though Sarah had freed her from the shame of the adults around her. Sarah didn't bask in triumph. She stepped back half a pace, lifted her tray. Her fingers brushed the edge of her apron, touching an old envelope beneath. Paper worn, embossing faint under the fabric. The proof was still there, waiting, biding its time. She didn't draw it yet. Tonight, she wanted her words to walk first, to climb every stair they forced her to ascend. At the top step, the paper and seal would simply be the period at the end. The strings swelled back into the room. People shifted in their chairs, as if accepting a new frame of gravity. Maya Lee quietly placed the basket of bread, whispering, "You got this," as she passed by Sarah. And Sarah continued her work, straightening cutlery, pouring water, noting dietary requests. Everything as usual. Only the weight had changed. The room was no longer suspended by arrogance, but sinking toward truth. At the far end of the table, a voice dug in again. "No matter what, tonight you still serve us." Sarah gave a small nod. "Yes," she said, "and truth is serving you as well, whether you want it or not." The words weren't bitter nor triumphant. They were simply true. And truth was something this room would find much harder to turn its back on. The strings thinned like silk. The scent of wine and sandalwood still lingered, but the room's gravity had shifted. Eyes that once skimmed past Sarah now paused on her every movement, not dismissive anymore, but breathless. She set the tray on the side table, slipped her hand into her apron pocket, and touched the edge of an old envelope. The paper was worn, corners curled, the royal embossing faded with time. She drew it out slowly, not for cheap drama, but with reverence for what had once saved her from seasons of darkness. A soft gasp escaped from somewhere. Clara Price's fingers went to her pearls. Nick Harper adjusted his cuff, eyes refusing to meet Sarah's. Ambassador Lydia Grant stopped writing. Dr. Thomas Hale leaned forward. Isla Ford half rose, hands clasped beneath the table as if praying for an answer. Sarah opened the envelope. The dry rasp of paper was as sharp as the scratch of a pen on a verdict. She read clearly in English for all to hear. Full honorary scholarship granted to Sarah Collins by the Royal Fellowship for Language and Culture. Board Chair, Graham Ford. Then she lifted the document so the chandelier's light struck the bold green signature. Graham Ford. Ink undeniable. The room cracked, like a hammer striking a fault line. Senator Daniel Brooks tugged his bow straight in shock. Ambassador Grant drew a sharp breath. Dr. Hale set down his spoon with a faint, "Oh." Graham Ford froze. His face flickered micro-expressions like neon signage. Defense, denial, calculation, then went dark. Sarah folded the letter, her voice low and steady. "You signed many such letters. You forget, but we do not." It wasn't accusation, it was record. A single clap broke out from the side table, Maya Lee, then another. Brooks rose, clapping slow, deliberate. Dr. Hale joined. At first hesitant, then suddenly the room's ceiling filled with applause, bursting open like windows after a summer storm. Isla circled the table. Her heels whispered across marble, carving a path of silence through the gasps. She stood before Sarah and embraced her lightly, not performance, just enough to say, "I'm sorry." In a corner, a man's voice clung to the old order. "This changes nothing. She's still serving us." The words hit the floor like a sandbag, unclaimed. Clara tried to recover. Tone policing clutched like a lifeline. "Let's keep this professional. Don't make a scene." Ambassador Grant turned, her steel blue eyes cold. "And who made the scene?" Clara faltered, raising her glass to hide the blush. Nick Harper pulled out his phone, screen glow slick on his face. The lens was already recording. Sarah didn't chase the applause. She returned to work, straightening silverware, pouring water, reminding the kitchen of the gluten-free request at table 7. But every motion was now a manifesto. "I do my job. I do not owe you smallness." Graham pushed his chair back, mouth opening as if to speak, then closing. Ela looked at her father, her eyes pleading for an apology he couldn't summon. After dessert, the floor manager, Peter Lang, appeared backstage, summoning Sarah in a round, cool voice. "We need to talk." A narrow office, air of disinfectant and printer ink. He set down an incident form. "A guest complained you disrupted the experience." Tone policing, now upgraded, from whispered "keep your place" to written discipline. "We're in hospitality, smiles first." Sarah placed the scholarship letter on his desk, nudging it forward. "Tonight, truth was the experience, and I never raised my voice, never left my post, never spilled a drop of wine." Peter froze half a beat, then recovered. "We respect you, but—" A knock on the door. Ambassador Grant appeared, leaning in. "I have an official statement for that report." Peter stiffened. A diplomat volunteering as witness left no room for "but." Leaving the office, Sarah walked the staff corridor. Security guard Carson Reed, the one who had scrutinized her badge too long at the start, stood straight, offering a slight nod in apology. On her way back to the kitchen, Maya pressed a water bottle into her hand. "You good?" "I'm good," Sarah said. And she truly was, like someone who had just set the final stone of a bridge. That night, a shaky phone video hit the web. Sarah lifting her head. Arabic flowing calm as a stream, chandelier light glinting across the rim of crystal glass. Beneath it, the pinned comment read, "She shut him down with pure class." Thousands followed. Who is she? That's flawless Arabic. I was there. I saw it. Threaded among them, the poisoned barbs of online microaggressions. Don't make this about race. She's just chasing attention. But the tide of support was stronger, deeper, steering public current elsewhere. By morning, Maya laughed as she opened her phone. "You're everywhere." Sarah glanced down, heart steady. She texted her mother, "I'm still with you." Then she slipped on her worn shoes and stepped into another shift. No fireworks, no speeches, just another day's work. But somewhere above, the hands that once pressed prejudice down upon her were slipping from the rail. And across the city, in the glass boardroom of Graham's energy empire, the board of directors opened inboxes fat as novels, partners asking questions, sponsors pulling out, legal urging immediate action. The man used to silencing others now had to listen, because truth had a seal, a video, and millions of witnesses. News spread faster than dawn. Before lunch, the video had climbed to the top across multiple platforms. The hashtags Shashik Crystal Dignity and Shashik Words Air Power flooded timelines. A local reporter stopped by the restaurant, asking to interview Sarah. She smiled and declined. "Today, I'm on the lunch shift." The woman blinked in disbelief. "But everyone's looking for you." Sarah just pointed to her cleaning cloth. "It's my turn to clear tables." On the other side, Nick Harper Media lost a major international sponsor for being out of alignment with values. Clara Price was quietly dropped from her social circle's guest lists. Her jokes from last night were clipped and looped with her line, "Don't be sensitive," a catalog of polite but poisonous microaggressions. Senator Brooks became a meme, the frame of him clapping with the caption, "Politician discovers real expertise." And Graham Ford? The board called an emergency meeting. A leaked internal memo read, "We are seriously evaluating unprofessional conduct that could damage the company's reputation." In the middle of the storm, Sarah kept setting tables. Manager Peter Lang's tone had shifted. "We're proud of you." A pause. "And PR would like your consent to use your image." Tone policing had turned to appropriation. The weak asked to decorate the strong. Sarah replied politely, "Last night wasn't a brand campaign, it was truth." Peter nodded, stepped back. "If you change your mind, I'll reach out myself." Sarah closed with a micro smile. A clear boundary. Ambassador Grant returned with a thin envelope. "This is my official statement on what happened last night." Sarah received it, bowing slightly in thanks. The diplomat leaned close. "Don't let them define the story for you." A stake driven into the windswept road. That afternoon Isla appeared, eyes sleepless, clutching a thick notebook. "This is my apology." And from friends I convinced to write their own. The pages were crowded with ink, messy handwriting. I laughed. I stayed silent when I should have spoken. "I'm sorry." Sarah didn't read it right away. She slid it into a drawer. Apologies needed time to steep like tea. Isla bit her lip, eyes wet. "My dad." She stopped. "He could lose everything." Sarah shook her head gently. "Not everything. Only what isn't worth keeping." That evening, the restaurant overflowed with curious guests. A group of young people, brown, black, white, waited at the bar, whispering, "That's her." A little girl of 10 shyly held out a drawing of a woman standing tall among stars. "I saw you online," she said. Sarah knelt to eye level. "Thank you." A moment, small as a grain of salt. yet it seasoned her whole day. But headwinds came. An anonymous account pushed a conspiracy. The video was edited. A comment jabbed at her skin. "Stop making this about race." Dr. Hale posted a detailed analysis, the Arabic intonation, the al-Mutanabi citation, the economic logic, verifying authenticity. The tide of comments shifted back. Yet Sarah, in the staff break room, still heard the double-edged blade of social media, overwhelming support, but also thorns. She switched off the screen, touching the thin silver ring on her hand. Calmness wasn't blindness to injustice. Calmness was choosing the moment for words to matter. Late that night, an email hit the restaurant's shared inbox. Graham's board of directors had voted temporary suspension from his role as executive chairman, pending internal investigation. A short note, no frills, but heavy. Peter Lang muttered, "I never thought it would go this far." Sarah didn't gloat, she stayed quiet. A power structure had shifted, not through slogans, but through a sequence. One Arabic phrase, one poem, one argument, one document. Truth aligned and rose. The next morning, the hotel's PR team sent a second request. A gala dinner honoring Sarah, press invited, backdrop banners, hashtags. Sarah read it, then rewrote with a condition. "If the dinner turns into a whitewash for those who laughed last night, I won't attend. If it's a workshop on microaggressions and how the hotel can train staff and guests, I'll speak." Email sent. 10 minutes later, Ambassador Grant replied on CC, "I'm willing to sit at that table." Elsewhere, Graham Ford stood before a mirror in his glass tower. His phone buzzed nonstop. Lawyers, PR, advisors. He ran his hand over hair usually flawless. For the first time, the reflection disobeyed. Isla texted, "Dad, apologize." The typing dots appeared, vanished, reappeared, vanished. At last, a single line. "I don't know where to start." Ela replied, "Anywhere, as long as you start." That night, Sarah finished her shift late. The city shimmered across the river like thousands of metal flowers. She walked, a car horn reminding her of Professor Yusuf's old sedan. On a bench, she opened her phone, reading slowly a local headline, "Waitress uses Arabic and knowledge to shatter prejudice." She smiled, scrolling through kind comments like warm blankets. When she met a cruel one, she didn't sink. She passed it by like stepping around a puddle after rain. Back at her small apartment, Sarah called her mother. They spoke of ordinary things, prescriptions, the electric bill, the little garden out back. Before hanging up, her mother said, voice frail but warm, "Daughter, I'm proud, but remember, the greatest victory is keeping your heart intact." Sarah leaned her forehead against the window, watching the streetlight tremble in the hot wind. "I remember." In the dark, she slipped the scholarship letter back into its envelope. Not because she needed it to breathe, but because it was the paper heartbeat of a story that had pulled a room out of careless habit. Tomorrow, she would lace her worn shoes again, clear tables, pour water, and if needed, use words. Not to defeat anyone, but to redraw the boundary, between courtesy and contempt, between humor and oppression, between service and dignity. And somewhere, among the thousands who had seen the video, a child was practicing the hard consonants of al-Mutanabi. One day, maybe they'd speak a different tongue. In a different room. But the rhythm would be the same. Inhale, hold, exhale. Speak at the right time. At the end of every honest story, words always find their height. The morning after the suspension notice, Peter Lang knocked on the staff lounge door. "Sarah, PR and HR want to host an internal workshop this afternoon. Title, Words Are Power. Could you lead it?" He spoke slowly, like a man choosing words through a minefield. Sarah nodded, but set conditions. If it's just photos and hashtags, I won't do it. I need 1. Mandatory attendance for both managers and security. 2. An anonymous channel for reporting microaggressions. 3. An audit of badge checks, shift assignments, and discipline, broken down by race and gender. Peter swallowed, then nodded. Okay, I'll put it in writing. The third-floor conference room held 30 chairs. Present were Carson Reed, the guard who had over-scrutinized Sarah's badge, floor supervisors, a group of chefs, 2 shift managers, and Isla Ford sitting quietly in the back, cap pulled low. Ambassador Lydia Grant dropped in for the first 15 minutes. Sarah opened not with a video, but with a white tablecloth, a crystal glass, and a question: why is it that with the same glass some are called classy and others out of place? She split the whiteboard into 3 columns, writing gatekeeping, tone policing, prove-it tests. Then she invited 3 volunteers for role plays. Gatekeeping. Carson played the guard, Sarah the new staffer. Carson read the old script. Show me your badge again. Sarah paused. When a request is repeated without cause, that's gatekeeping. She added numbers. Count how many times this happens to black staff versus others. That's data, not sensitivity. Tone policing. A shift manager said, don't make a scene. Smile more. Sarah. When someone's insulted, telling them to smile shifts the emotional burden onto the harmed. New policy. Replace it with, I hear what you said. I will address that behavior. Prove-it tests. A supervisor challenged with, if you're good, prove it. Sarah. That forces weaker groups to take tests in the middle of service. Rule, no pop quizzes outside job scope. Ambassador Grant raised her hand. I want it in the record. Microaggressions are not small. They are the foundation on which discrimination stands. She excused herself for another meeting, but promised to testify if needed. The room softened. Sarah moved to last night's case. The phrase, she's still the help, why is it toxic? A chef raised his hand. Because it strips humanity, reduces a person to function. Sarah nodded. The fix isn't vague. Be polite. It's procedure. 1. Names used, not, hey you. 2. Staff may refuse service if humiliation repeats, with a manager stepping in. 3. Escalation ladder. Light, reminder. Medium, table reassignment. Heavy, removal. During break, Isla approached with a small cloth bag. Inside, a bilingual Al-Mutanabi book, gray cover. I thought, maybe this should go to the staff library, she whispered. Sarah accepted with a smile. Thank you, but don't let poetry cover for process. Poetry nourishes. Process protects. Isla's eyes reddened. I understand. When everyone returned, Peter held the draft policy, anonymous QR channel, guest handling criteria, quarterly audits. Sarah added a line in red pen, no retaliation against reporters. Peter stared at it for a beat longer, then signed. A manager suggested a group photo for social media. Sarah shook her head, no photo op. After a quarter, when we have data, then publish. Some looked disappointed, because there'd be no easy PR, but most felt lighter. For the first time, a signature tied to counting an action. At the end, Sarah asked for 5 minutes for a breathing drill. Inhale, hold, exhale, speak. In the hall, power often speaks first, she said. We practice the pause to choose words, both for serving and for defending ourselves. Hands pressed to chests, breaths steadied. Carson, the guard who had once checked too harshly, shook Sarah's hand. I apologize for last night. Sarah replied simply, thank you, Don't perform, change the habit. As the room emptied, a female voice called from the door. Evelyn Ward, the woman in the yellow dress. I just want to say, don't be too sensitive, everyone gets teased. The room froze, the quintessential tone policing line. Sarah turned, calm. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'm responsible for setting boundaries. When teasing is based on race and role, it isn't teasing, it's pressing down. Peter stepped forward. Ms. Ward, the new policy takes effect today. His voice steady, shielding his staff. In the back row, Isla smiled for the first time that day. By late afternoon, PR emailed Sarah a draft press release. We are proud to be a pioneering hotel. Sarah replied, say instead, we failed at A, B, C and commit to measure and improve. Don't self-crown. Peter CC'd, agreed. That evening, Sarah was rinsing glasses when her phone buzzed, an unfamiliar Ohio number. I'm a hospital social worker, a warm voice said. Your mother's insurance appeal will be reviewed Monday, and a support fund is ready if coverage still fails. Sarah leaned back against the steel counter, closed her eyes a moment. Not a miracle, just a door opening. Thank you, she said, voice steady. Night fell as Sarah crossed the lobby. The chandeliers still chimed, the crystal still glittered, but the air was different. On the staff bulletin board by the back door was a fresh QR code, anonymous reports. Below it, Peter's bold signature. Sarah touched her apron pocket where the scholarship letter rested. She didn't need to pull it out tonight. Today, the process had spoken for her. 2 days later, an email from the Graham Board of Directors arrived at the restaurant, requesting a private hearing between Mr. Graham Ford and Ms. Sarah Collins, independent observers present. Sarah replied with a single line. I will attend under 3 conditions. 1. Ambassador Grant and Dr. Thomas Hale as observers. 2. No cameras but a transcript. 3. No offers to buy my story. Within 30 minutes, all 3 conditions were approved. The glass-walled boardroom on the 42nd floor looked out over the bay, walnut table, label-less mineral water. Graham Ford entered, visibly thinner. Isla sat in the back row, hands clenched. Ambassador Grant began, This meeting is not for staging but for listening and committing. Dr. Hale flipped open his notebook, pen ready. Graham cleared his throat, awkward. I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you that night. I didn't mean to discriminate. Sarah held his gaze, offering no rescue. Impact, intent, she said slowly. Your intentions don't erase the impact on me or on other staff every day. Graham bit his lip, nodded. You're right. Sarah laid an A4 sheet on the table. Not the scholarship letter, but a list of demands. The Al Hassan Fellowship, named for her teacher, to fund language and policy scholarships annually for service workers, with no corporate branding. Mandatory anti-microaggressions, training at all Graham-affiliated hotels, a bilingual apology, English-Arabic to the staff that night, with no PR spin, a commitment not to sue or threaten those who posted the video. Permanent resignation from executive chairman, or at minimum withdrawal from all scholarship boards for 24 months. The room grew heavy. Isla lifted her eyes toward her father. Graham read down the list, stopped at point 5. He looked to Ambassador Grant. She answered crisply, responsibility. Dr. Hale added, naming the fund after Al Hassan is fitting. He taught that words are power. Graham swallowed. I accept 124.3, agreed. Point 5, I need time and the board. Sarah nodded. You can commit now to stepping down from scholarship boards. Graham signed a commitment letter his lawyer prepared. Ink pressed heavy into the page. Isla exhaled against the chair. As for the apology, Sarah said, calm, if you give it in Arabic, speak it, don't just read. She wrote a simple line, pronouncing it slowly. Ana atadiru. I apologize for the words that diminished your dignity and your colleagues, Graham repeated, stumbling at the guttural consonant. Sarah corrected gently, without humiliation. Lower your tongue. The second attempt was clearer. Thank you, he said, his first trace of humanity in the room. The door swung open. Nick Harper poked in, phone in hand. Graham, we need a quick clip. Ambassador Grant's voice cut like steel. This session is off camera. Please leave. Nick shrugged, retreating, but tossed back. Miss Collins, exclusive rights to your story. 6-figure check. Sarah answered flatly. No. Isla caught her breath. She'd seen too many people sell others' stories. The rest of the meeting was a roll call of the system. Sarah recounted double shifts, the stares, the "Where are you really from?" aimed at an American, and how prove-it tests turned the workplace into a never-ending exam. Graham listened, little protest. When he muttered, "It was just a joke," Sarah reminded him of the hotel's new policy. A joke that shifts the burden of emotions onto the harmed isn't a joke. They closed by scheduling a staff-only apology at the hotel. Friday, no press. Isla walked out with her father, but lingered at the door, turning back. Thank you for not turning this into bloodletting. I'm learning. Sarah smiled. Then use what you learn, especially when no cameras are around. Leaving headquarters, Sarah didn't head home. She turned into a narrow alley bookstore. Arabic texts stacked to the ceiling. The old owner, Mr. Karim, ink-stained fingers counting pages, looked up. That Al-Mutanabi verse you recited, you spoke it well. Sarah smiled. My teacher taught me cadence before grammar. She picked out another Al-Mutanabi anthology, green cover, wrapped it carefully. On the first page, she wrote in English, small, words are power. Use them kindly. That evening, an email arrived from Hotel PR with an updated release, per Sarah's guidance. We failed at points ABC. Within 90 days, we will publish data on anonymous complaints, badge checks, discipline, and shift assignments by group. Below, a QR link. Sarah replied, add a pledge to protect whistleblowers. A minute later, the email returned with added. Before bed, Sarah called her mother. I met with them today, she said briefly. Did they apologize yet? Soon, in 2 languages. On the line, her mother chuckled, then coughed. Daughter, don't let anger eat your breakfast, but don't let politeness steal your dinner. Sarah laughed. Mom, that belongs on a wall. Then hang it on your heart, her mother said. Outside the window, the city still pulsed, but beneath the surface, signatures had been set down. A scholarship fund named for Al-Hassan, a bilingual apology about to echo under chandeliers, an audit to count what was long dismissed as just jokes. No miracle, just work. And tomorrow, Sarah would lace her worn shoes, step into the hall again. If asked, do you work here? She would smile. I serve, both water and words. Friday, exactly 5 p.m., the main hall dimmed 1 notch. A small sign stood by the door. Internal apology session, no press, no recording. Rows of chairs filled the aisles. Chefs still dusted with flour. Servers between shifts, security, housekeeping staff. Peter Lang stood at the edge of the makeshift stage, his voice steady. Today, we are not doing PR. Today, we listen. In the front row to the right sat Ambassador Lydia Grant and Dr. Thomas Hale, independent observers. In the second row, Isla Ford sat between Maya Lee and Carson Reed. Graham Ford walked out, thinner, in an ash-gray suit. He looked around, faces he had passed nightly but never truly seen. Peter restated the rules. No, if you were offended, no hedging. An apology must name the act, acknowledge impact, and give commitments. Graham nodded, drew a breath. He began in English. That night I used words that diminish the dignity of a colleague and the service staff here. I apologize to every person in this room. Then, not reading from the paper but speaking as Sarah had coached, he added, Ana atadiru. I apologize in Arabic because I treated language as decoration for power, instead of as a bridge to people. A wave of silence spread through the hall, not heavy, but focused. Ambassador Grant marked a line in her notebook. Dr. Hale nodded when the guttural consonant landed in the right place. Graham continued, I have accepted the signed conditions establishing the Al-Hassan Fellowship to fund scholarships for service staff pursuing language policy studies, mandatory anti-microaggressions, training across Graham-affiliated hotels, a bilingual apology, and no lawsuits against anyone who posted the video. Effective today, I withdraw from all scholarship boards. As for my role as executive chairman, I am suspended and will abide by the board's final decision. I also step back from all public company events until the process is complete. Peter scanned the rows. Who would like to speak? Maya raised her hand first. Thank you for saying impact intent. At the bar, we hear just joking all the time. From now, I want to hear, I did that, and I'll fix it. Carson rose, shoulders bent. That night, I overchecked a badge. I'm sorry. I've submitted the access check data by group to the audit team. A black housekeeper, Aisha Owens, spoke slowly. Once a guest told me, call your manager, when I offered fresh towels. I want to know when staff are allowed to refuse service to repeat humiliation. Peter lifted the new policy sheet. The 3-step process is posted, with QR for anonymous reporting. No retaliation. Then Sarah. She didn't step to the stage, only turned toward the staff. That night, I chose to speak at the right time. But I don't want each of you forced to take tests in the middle of dinner just to prove ability. Today, we have process so that doesn't happen again. She inclined her head toward Graham. Thank you for speaking instead of reading. But words are only a start. The rest is schedules and numbers. Applause rose, not loud but warm. Isla looked up, eyes wet. Ambassador Grant stood. I will file an official statement that today met its purpose. No showmanship. Dr. Hale added a note. A fund named for Al-Hassan rightly honors the teacher who taught words are power. The session ended. Staff dispersing to evening shifts. Sarah returned to her station. Ela came forward with a small envelope. A personal contribution to the Al-Hassan Fund. No logo, no name, just thank you. Sarah accepted, nodding lightly. Keep some to keep learning. Isla smiled, whispering, I'm studying the art of apology. But calm didn't last. Nick Harper fired his next shot. His evening program aired a leaked clip, spliced and labeled the apology as staged, a branding wash. He trotted out an anonymous former staffer, claiming Sarah had always liked attention. Bold font splashed payday, activism. Beneath, toxic comments swarmed. Stop making everything about race. She's milking drama for favoritism. Ambassador Grant countered with a terse statement. I was present. No cameras, no press. The apology was authentic, with no exchange of favors. Dr. Hale published a breakdown. Sarah's Arabic intonation, the al-Mutanabi verse, the economic logic she delivered, itemizing the very points Nick had cut. Peter released the QR data publicly. Within the first day, 17 anonymous reports logged. Management had already acted on 5 cases of teasing, reclassified as formal warnings. Small numbers, but concrete. Sarah didn't go on TV. She taped a sheet to the staff bulletin board. Don't argue with edits. Work the data on time. Signed simply, Ace. Maya snapped a photo, sent it to the staff group. Ignore the storm. Keep building the bridge. Isla texted Sarah, I hate how Nick twists it. Sarah replied, storms pass, bridges must hold. Late that night, Sarah called her mother. The hallway light spilled gold through the small window. Mom, today they apologized. On the other end, her mother's cough was softer. Good, daughter. Remember, don't let politeness steal your dinner. Sarah smiled faintly. I'll let schedules and data eat for me. And words, too, her mother said. Yes, and words. She hung up, glancing into the hall. Crystal glasses still glimmered under the old chandelier. But tonight, the light no longer reflected hollow power. It reflected the faces of people who had stepped out of silence. In her apron pocket, the scholarship letter rested like a paper heartbeat. And on the bulletin board, the QR code gathered more reports. Small lines of text, but footsteps moving away from she's still the help. 2 days later, Nick Harper widened his front. On his Sunday night program, he built a timeline implying Sarah had been coddled, flashing an old photo of her at a student language seminar, splashing the headline, From Waitress to Wire Puller. Guests chimed in, She grew up privileged, this is all theater. The recycled logic twisted effort into prejudice. If a black woman excels, she must have been favored. If she remains calm, she must be scheming. Reactions were mixed. Some leaned toward Nick, others pushed back. Ambassador Grant didn't go on air but released an open letter. I urge editors to check original records, not comment on spliced footage. We owe the public the truth. Dr. Hale posted a 6-minute language breakdown, cutting through clips of Sarah's answers on tariffs, shipping lanes, basis spreads, explaining why no one could parrot such reasoning on the spot. The clip unexpectedly spread through professional circles. Several economists reshared it. This is substance in a sea of noise. Meanwhile, the hotel's audit pressed on. The anonymous inbox logged 42 new reports in 72 hours, ranging from hey you greetings to repeated badge checks. Peter published week 1 numbers. 60 reports, 18 resolved, 12 under review, 3 guests asked to leave. The 3-step process had been fire-tested. On Slack, Maya wrote, First time I've seen a signature tied to action. Monday evening, a VIP tech group dined privately, no press. Evelyn Ward appeared too, in a new yellow dress. Her smile was velvet upholstery, soft but not inviting. When Sarah poured water for guest number 3, a young man jeered. Since you speak Arabic so well, translate this rap for me? He spat out a stream of crude rhymes about black women in English. A few chuckles followed. This was the lobby's final test. After policy, after apology, what would the system do? Sarah didn't answer. She inhaled, held, exhaled, set the pitcher down, looked him straight in the eye. Sir, under the policy enacted on date, this is step 1. Derogatory language is not acceptable. I ask you to change your words. Peter arrived right then, standing beside Sarah. Step 2, if repeated. Staff reassignment. Incident logged. The man scoffed. Relax. Don't be sensitive. He turned to a friend. Prove it test? Ask her the last quarter's basis spread, bet she can't. His friend muttered, Man, stop. Sarah didn't step into the trap. She shook her head slightly. Pop quizzes outside job scope violate the new policy. Tonight my work is serving dinner." The man sneered, repeated another slur. Peter nodded to security. Carson stepped forward, voice even. "Step 3. You're asked to leave. We'll refund your portion." The table froze, clear as glass. The man looked around, waiting for old power to back him. It didn't. He shrank, grumbling, and left his chair. Evelyn Ward bit her lip, unable to muster a defense. The handling wasn't loud, but it echoed. Staff glanced at each other, half astonished, half relieved. Maya texted the group. "Step 3 tested. System holds." Aisha Owens, back in linens, let out a long breath. Something lifted from her shoulders. Ambassador Grant, passing another table, saw the clean finish and smiled at Peter. Policy is culture written in action. That night, Nick went live again, accusing the hotel of cancel culture against guests. But this time, internal CCTV footage, faces blurred, audio muted, showing the 3 steps exactly as posted, was released by Peter with the caption, "No names, no words, just process." The comments split, but the focus shifted. People began debating conduct rules instead of, "She just wants attention." The next morning, the Al Hassan Fund opened Round 1 applications. Part-time scholarships for staff wanting to study languages, interpretation, or public policy skills. Maya applied for an English-Korean interpreting course. Carson signed up for bias-free security design training. Aisha Owens chose difficult guest communication. Isla quietly contributed another sum, this time on record, under a student interclub banner. In Sarah's inbox waited an email from a boy in another state. "I saw you recite Al-Mutanabi. I looked up the translation. It's beautiful. I want to learn Arabic." That afternoon, the board sent an update. The internal investigation was near completion. A vote on Graham's position would be Thursday. Isla texted, "Whatever the outcome, thank you for setting the right conditions." Sarah replied, "Conditions make it easier for the next person." Evening fell, the lobby quiet. Sarah polished a row of glasses. Peter passed by, pausing. "Yesterday, PR asked me, 'Why won't she give interviews?' I said, 'Because she's working.'" Sarah smiled. "Because I know when words should be spoken and when they should stand still." He nodded. "Then tomorrow, will you speak?" Sarah asked back, "On what?" Peter pointed to the paper on the bulletin board. Week 1 audit, results and gaps. "Say it," Sarah answered. "But remember, don't call it pioneering. Write, 'We failed here, and here's what we've done.'" Late at night, Sarah called Ohio. Her mother's voice sounded clearer. "Insurance re-review approved. Treatment starts next week." Sarah leaned against the glass cabinet, eyes stinging. "Mom, go to bed. I'll take another shift." "Don't play with your strength," her mother said. "I'm not playing," Sarah replied. "I'm standing where I should." She tucked the thin silver ring into her apron pocket. Tonight, no exam was needed, only clean water and glasses, cloth folded to the edge, policy posted by the back door. Somewhere, in a studio with glass walls, Nick Harper was still talking. But here, amid the clink of spoons on plates, and the new rules had already spoken. And that voice stood firm as a brick just laid, not to build walls, but to build a bridge. Thursday. Thin clouds lay over the bay like a tissue. In the staff lounge, Sarah set her coffee down beside the bulletin board marked Audit Week 1, Results and Gaps. Peter Lang pinned up a new sheet. Repeated badge checks down 41%. 3 guests removed under Step 3. 7 managers completed the tone policing module. At 10 a.m., her phone buzzed. Isla texted, "The board is voting." Sarah breathed, held, breathed. then turned back to help Maya carry trays of warm bread. 11:32. The hotel inbox chimed, an internal memo from Graham Ford's company. Peter looked at Sarah, nodded slightly, then read aloud. The board has voted to terminate Graham Ford's role as executive chairman, effective immediately. He withdraws from all scholarship boards in the partner ecosystem for at least 24 months. The company will restructure its sponsorship programs, shifting focus to the independent Al Hassan Fund, guided by the principle, words are power, measured by action. Final line, a bilingual public apology will be published at 6 p.m. today. The room sat still for seconds. Maya squeezed Sarah's hand. Carson threw open the window to let air rush in. At the next table, Aisha Owens bowed her head low, as if laying down a burden she'd carried too long. Sarah didn't cheer. She only texted Ayla. Read, breathe, hold, breathe. Ayla replied, I'm still shaking, but I feel lighter. By noon, social media split into two streams. Nick Harper screamed headlines, Mob Rule Wins. He cut applause from the staff hall into graphics about cancel culture. In contrast, a regional hotel association issued a statement endorsing Sarah's hotel's three-step protocol. Process is culture written down. We recommend urgent adoption for peak season. 3 major hotels announced mandatory microaggressions training next quarter. Stamps and signatures moved faster than talk shows. In the afternoon, Ambassador Grant sent Sarah an invitation to a closed workshop with hotel reps and scholarship foundations. We need someone to design the program. Almost at the same moment, the Al Hassan Fund Board emailed privately. We invite you to serve as program lead, part-time, for 12 months, build curriculum, set scholarship criteria, monitor impact. The pay would let Sarah drop night shifts for a while. She read slowly, then closed the laptop. Her mother in Ohio would begin treatment next week. Money for medicine would flow as steadily as poured water. How to choose without dropping any bridge. At the end of her shift, Sarah stood at the marble edge where chandelier light broke into a rain of tiny shards. She remembered Youssef in his small Cairo flat. A candle burning low. Words are power, but that power must live in deeds. Her phone buzzed. Ayla calling. I want to speak publicly for the Al Hassan Fund, but people say I should stay quiet since my family's in trouble. Sarah leaned against a pillar. You don't need to argue, just do. Fundraise with students, translate documents, assist in the breath, pause, speak module. Let hours and assignments speak for you. 6 p.m. The bilingual apology went live. No gloss, no video, just 4 paragraphs, naming the act, its impact, and the signed commitments. In the internal staff section, a long list of names appeared under accepting responsibility. Carson, for overchecking badges. Peter, for delaying guest handling. 3 shift managers, for past don't be sensitive. Sarah read and nodded. Not because she needed endless apologies, but because a new culture was being written, line by line. That evening, the closed workshop convened in a small third-floor room. Present: Peter, 2 shift managers, Ambassador Grant, Dr. Hale, reps from 3 partner hotels, and a lawyer from the fund. Sarah outlined her framework. Module 1, breath pause, speak. Training, pauses to choose words. Module 2, gatekeeping and data, tracking repeated badge checks, designing transparent entry points. Module 3, tone policing, replacing smile more with I hear you and will address the behavior. Module 4, prove it tests, banning off-scope challenges, role-playing scenarios. Module 5, poetry and practice, 10 minutes of al-Mutanabi at the end. Not for show, but to remind that language is a home, not a weapon. A rep asked, "What metric defines success?" Sarah answered, "After 90 days, reports should rise, trust, then fall, progress. That's a healthy curve. Step 1-2 must be handled within 24 hours. Step 3 requires written records and no retaliation." "Will you take the program lead role?" Ambassador asked directly. Sarah looked at Peter. He nodded. "If you do, the hotel will keep you at 0.5 FTE, stable pay, fixed shifts, so you can both build the program and work 1 shift a week in the hall. The hall needs you." Sarah pressed her lips. She hated the feeling of owing, but loved truth woven into process. Finally, she said, "I accept, on conditions. 1. All materials belong to the Al Hassan Fund, no company logos. 2. Frontline staff prioritized for scholarships. 3. Quarterly data published." Heads nodded in unison. Late at night, Sarah sat on the back steps, eyes on reflected lights above. Maya brought 2 cups of mint tea. "You're a program lead now," Maya grinned. "Congrats." Sarah tapped her cup to hers. "Congrats to the fund. We'll count what matters." Maya tilted her head. "And Nick?" Sarah sipped. "He talks." "We do." Then she texted her mother. "I took the new job. I'll still work Saturday nights to pour water for the glasses that need to see themselves in it." Her mother replied, "Don't let politeness steal your dinner." "But you already know." Sarah smiled, pocketed her phone. The night was light as a tablecloth, white, yet no longer the old plain white. It now bore 3 new seams. Breathe, pause, speak. 3 weeks later. The first cohort of the Al Hassan Fund gathered in a small seminar room. 18 people, servers, housekeepers, security, kitchen staff, from 4 hotels. Ambassador Grant opened with 5 minutes, then yielded the floor to Sarah. On the table lay a packet as clear as a menu: objectives, metrics, process. No company logos. The last page held a short Al-Mutanabi poem, printed small. Sarah didn't retell the crystal night with drama. She began with something small. Each person filled out a slip describing a time when a just joking remark made them shrink. In 10 minutes, the walls were covered in yellow notes. Maya, on the support team, read them aloud, sorting them into gatekeeping, tone policing, prove it. Heads nodded. For the first time, the little thorns had names. Module 1, Breath, Pause, Speak. Sarah invited the class to place their hands over their hearts, syncing rhythm. She played 2 recordings, one manager saying, "Don't be sensitive," and the corrected version, "I hear what you said, I will address that behavior." Soft wows broke out, small but real. Module 2, Gatekeeping and Data. Carson shared how security changed, "Show me your badge again," into, "Thanks, the scanner didn't read it. I'll rescan for you." Shifting responsibility from the person to the device, less humiliating. Module 3, Prove It tests. Aisha told of a heated night when a guest quizzed her. Differentiate towel fabrics in French. She'd smiled. "Per policy, I don't take tests outside my job, but I'll bring you a fresh towel right away." The table exhaled together. Midway, a hard moment, one male trainee asked, "What if a guest calls me boy? I hate it, but I'm scared to lose tips." Sarah didn't give cliches. She pointed back to the 3 steps. Step 1, name yourself. "I'm James." Step 2, call a manager to reassign. Step 3, guest is asked to leave. Important? Documentation, so you're not alone. Peter, invited to share, raised his hand. "And if a manager ignores it, report through the QR. If there's retaliation, I'll be fired first." Laughter rippled, but they knew it wasn't a joke. At day's end, Sarah led Module 5, Poetry and Practice. She recited again, "The crystal glass does not lower the one who holds it," not as triumph, but as a key linking language to work. Then she invited learners to continue in their own tongues, Hindi, Tagalog, Swahili. Different sounds side by side didn't collide. They filled the room with space enough for all. As people left, Ela stepped in, volunteer role, distributing small travel grants from a student fundraising drive. She handed an envelope to Aisha. "This will cover transport." Aisha hugged it tight, eyes bright. Isla turned to Sarah. "Nick, tonight he's spinning again." Sarah shrugged. "Let the quarterly numbers answer." Isla smiled. "I just submitted an op-ed. Apology is a skill." Sarah held out her hand. "Welcome to the work." Late afternoon, Sarah video-called the hospital. Her mother wore a scarf, face pale but eyes bright. "Doctor says I'm responding to the meds." Sarah pressed her forehead into her palm, choking on a laugh. Sob. "Don't make me cry in front of the class, Mom." Her mother winked. "Crying is a language, too." Before hanging up, she asked, "Do you remember your first Arabic lesson with Yusuf? You kept swapping KH for H." Sarah laughed. "Now I'm correcting others." "Good," her mother said. "Correct, but never humiliate. That's the bridge." That night, the Grand Hall received a small group of guests. No celebrities. Peter whispered to Sarah, "Quiet shift for you?" "Quiet is beautiful," Sarah replied. At 9 p.m., a middle-aged man walked to the counter, no reservation, asking for a quiet corner. Graham Ford, thinner now, more gray. Peter glanced at Sarah, awaiting her call. She nodded. Corner table, no priority, no special favors. She brought him water. Graham stood, speaking softly in Arabic. "I am still learning." Sarah answered, also in Arabic. "Good, use words to build, not to press down." He nodded. No photos, no statements. When he left, he dropped an unmarked envelope for the Al Hassan Fund at reception. Peter opened it, sighing. Enough for 3 scholarships. Sarah only said, "Label it Anonymous Donor." That same night, Nick Harper lost 2 more sponsors for attempting to film leaked clips in no-record zones. Sarah didn't celebrate. She only posted the Q1 report, badge overchecks down 58%, Step 1-2 response time cut to 9 hours, 0 retaliation cases, 24 staff awarded scholarships in round 1. At the bottom, 1 small line, "We were wrong, and here's what we have done." The next week, Sarah stepped into her Saturday night shift. Maya handed her a tray. "Still pouring water?" Sarah smiled. "Yes. I like seeing glasses full." At the window table, a boy with his mother watched her. He whispered something, then ran over. "You're the lady who said the poem. I'm learning Arabic. Will you listen to my KH sound?" Sarah knelt eye to eye. The boy tried, stumbled. She corrected gently. "Lower your tongue a little." The second try came clear. He grinned, chandelier light sparking in his eyes like glass. His mother murmured, "Thank you." Sarah nodded. Words belong to all of us. As night met chandelier light, Sarah walked the rows, smoothing tablecloth edges. She no longer needed to pull out the scholarship letter. It stayed in her apron pocket, a paper heartbeat. But the bridge was built, the process running, scholarships open, apologies spoken. If anyone asked her trade, she would answer, "I serve, water for glasses, and words for the room." Then she would smile, breathe, hold, breathe, and speak at the right time. At shift's end, Sarah stood in the hall. Crystal reflected her face. Not brighter, just clear enough. The crystal glass does not lower the one who holds it. It only reflects the dignity of the one who drinks it. She lifted the pitcher, poured into the glass of a new arrival. A stranger, another story, another bridge. And somewhere beyond the doors, the wind carried an old poem across the glass city. Steady, sure, enough. And that is Sarah's story. How a black waitress once scorned in a banquet hall became a symbol of dignity and the strength of words. And you, have you ever been underestimated because of your background, your skin, or your job? How did you respond? If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, to spread the message, and subscribe for more.